Lifers Podcast. Get with it or get forgotten.
Hey, all you lifers out there. Welcome to the Lifers Podcast. This is a special exclusive content for our patrons. Thank you so much for the support. We look forward to going on this journey with y'all. For this episode, we have a featured guest. We have Mr. Cruz. How you doing, bro?
What's going on? Thanks for having me, man.
Of course, man. Thank you. And one of our original, what's up, Lucky Lefty?
What up, boys? How you doing?
Doing good, man. We're gonna talk a little bit about The Last Dance, and I think it's just perfect timing with the, what do we got? 2 episodes left? Three.
Is it 3 tomorrow?
No. We're gonna get 2, and then they're gonna do the final one, the final 10.
Okay.
We gotta. Perfect. They're marketing on this has been insane. By the way.
Phenomenal.
Just point that out. Because actually, it's kind of a side note. I didn't even have this as a topic, but when would they have released this if it wasn't for quarantine? Do you think they would have?
It was after the NBA Finals.
Oh, okay.
That would be
That's
good too.
scheduled to. I believe it was June 19th, right after the finals. That week between the draft and the finals, I think it was supposed to come out then.
But we can go ahead and say this was better timing.
Yeah. Well, and we can also thank LeBron James because he was putting it out all over social media.
Yeah, he was.
Had a couple interviews about it and said it and everything. So.
You know what? Shout out to LBJ. Appreciate you.
Boy,
Love you, baby.
All right, let's speak about. So there are a few things I want to talk about in this. I want to get you guys started. Let's just go ahead and get it going. Favorite moment of The Last Dance so far, Cruz. Since you are a special guest, go ahead and start that off. What you got?
I'll say my favorite moment is, it's not a specific moment. It's really the behind the scenes things that we never really got to see, because the amount of footage that they have is just crazy to me. Like I always thought like we had a pretty good grasp on like what was going on, the insides and out, especially with the newer generation. I mean, we feel like we know these guys now. I didn't realize we really had all of this locker room talk. Like you're seeing them open beers after a game, chatting it up. Gambling with his security guards. You got their names. They're coming. Like the amount of footage that they got and the insight that they're giving us. I mean, I love it. Just the amount that they're actually showing, the way they're doing the timeline of it. They're kind of starting at the beginning. They're showing the end. They're bouncing around. I mean, I'm loving it. Loving it.
That's for sure, man. I didn't even know. It's gonna sound ignorant, but I didn't even know that they were able to get that much access like at that time.
No.
Like,
no,
wow.
No idea.
Jordan had allowed, because they knew it was going to be their last season, he allowed a film crew to do this. And he was adamant about never releasing it.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that, according to a few insiders and the producers and directors, that after LeBron won for Cleveland, that's when he said, all right, guys, let's go put it out. It's okay to put it out now.
Yeah.
So.
Similar with Kobe, because Kobe a few years ago, he had the Kobe doing work.
Yep.
So it was kind of a similar setup. We got a little taste of that, but this is just on another level.
And supposedly Kobe had a film crew follow him around for the last season. So hopefully they make a doc out of that.
Drop that on us, man. I love that.
That would be great.
So you can actually continue, TJ, if you want. What's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment, I literally watched this, and I've watched it multiple times over and over again. It gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. It was at the end of episode 7 when Mike was explaining how he played the game and how he was getting emotional, explaining if you didn't like how he played the game, then that way. Like, you're not playing all out. You're not playing to win. I may rub you the wrong way. I may yell, scream. But I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not doing already. I'm running the wind sprints with you. You know what I mean? I'm in there at 6 o'clock in the morning working out with my trainer, getting ready for the season. Yep. That for me, that was over any moment that out of this whole show, because I grew up with this team. I mean, I was born in 81. I've liked Jordan since about 87. Got shit for it growing up because I'm from New England and everybody loves the ball. Now I'm rocking Chicago Bulls hats. And, you know what I mean? I was in high school for the second run. So it was like I literally would have watch parties at my house during the NBA Finals. It was crazy. Like I'd invite all my friends over. Every playoff game, if it was on the weekends, I had people at my house. It didn't matter. So like this was all me, and getting to sit down and watch this stuff with my sons. It's like I can't ask for anything more.
I love it. That's incredible because I envy the fact, like as a everyone in here in this call is a diehard basketball fan. We played, we breathe it, we love it. So just the fact that you got to live through the MJ years, like Jonathan and I are both 93, right?
Yep. 93.
We're both 93. So, we were young bucks. My father was, like we said, my father named my brother after Michael Jordan. So
right.
Like I grew up like diehard, but I never got to live it. I lived the Kobe, Shaq, LeBron,
right.
those years.
Yeah.
Iverson, yeah, exactly. Tracy, Vince, all those. I honestly, my favorite part might be when Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr in the face. No, I'm kidding. But no, you know what I thought of when that happened? When they, I mean, I knew it. It's obviously a story that had been told multiple times. But the first thing I thought of was that meme or that GIF where Chris Paul looks at Steve Kerr and fakes laugh at him. Like I bet Chris Paul is thinking like, "Thank you," like somebody punched him in the face.
I wish it was me.
My favorite part of the docs, on a serious note, is my argument with any Michael Jordan stan has been that they don't give Scottie enough credit. And my favorite moment of this whole entire doc was, when Michael Jordan won his first, it might have been his first championship, when he literally said like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Scottie. Yeah. And that was the most respect and that made me love Jordan. Like it put me over the top. Like I was like, the only gripe I've ever had with Jordan and his stands is that they don't give Scottie enough credit. And this man, Michael, straight up is the epitome of giving Scottie credit. And that just made me respect him so much more, man. That was dope to me.
Growing up in it, he always gave Scottie credit.
Yeah.
So it was never like, I'm not without Scottie. That's one thing he was good about. He was, he was a marketer's dream. You know what I mean? He was in there. He always talked about his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Tom Brady, give the cliches. I'm never in the game, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
got credit. Mike never diminished Scottie's role at all.
Yep.
Bill Cartwright, that's another person that maybe.
Horace Grant.
Yeah. Yo, that's gonna be another one. That might lead me to my next one. The biggest surprise. I'll let TJ take it away. For this one, what's your biggest surprise of the doc?
You brought the man up, Scottie Pippen. The one for me that the biggest surprise, and I knew about it and remembered it from my childhood, but some of the actions, but how selfish and weak mentally that he was. Like I think in some aspects, man, like that, like the situation with Tony Kukoc and not taking the last shot and sitting out of the game, that's questionable in my part.
That bothered you?
I didn't know about that.
Not getting the surgery before the last season that your team needs you to play, that's questionable and selfish on my part. Like, and then the foolishness of him signing that long term of a contract, knowing where the NBA was going. If he pushed his agent that he needed to sign that deal, that's a problem. I'll first blame his agent, but that's on Scottie. You can't do that. You cost yourself hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, man, that's a rough one because, I mean, the doc talks about it. What was it, episode 3? I'm losing count right now.
I think so.
But, I mean, he had a lot going on in his family issues, and he didn't come from a situation where he was making money. And I think his dad had gone a stroke, and his brother had gone a car accident. He just needed to lock down some money. Do I think even in that situation, was it the smartest thing in the world? No. I don't think anyone can sit here and say it was any type of smart, right? Because 7 years, what was it, 7 years?
It was a long contract.
It was long. 7 years. 7 years, and he did it in the
19.
Now, in the 80s, like, everybody forgets that Michael Jordan didn't make much money until the second three-peat.
Yep.
He did an 8-year deal in the
they say 90 million
late 80s. What's that?
I think they said it was 90 million over the course of his tenure in the NBA.
Yeah,
I think it was close to it was like 94. I think it was something.
That's the last 3 years were his biggest earners. The last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mike signed a long-term deal. It was like 8 years for like $32 million or something like that. and he didn't get paid again until later in the 90s. So those long-term deals were a thing. But in the 90s, the money started rolling in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
His deal in the 90s. And that's where it's like, yo, Scotty, like, that wasn't the right move, son.
Right.
And then all the stuff with the coup coach and sitting out, and then the surgery thing that like Jordan said, that was selfish. Like, get your surgery in the summer. I wanted to enjoy my summer. Like, come on, bro. Come on, man.
But TJ, I'm gonna play devil's advocate for like a hot second.
Go for it.
If there's anybody that that low-key deserved to take a summer off, and for the amount of money he was getting paid and for the responsibility that he was given, I can't, and the relationship that was made between him and the Bulls, man, like, I understand we can all sit here and say, like, yes, that basketball input was selfish, but it had to do so much with the relationship with the Bulls. They fucked him over. Let's not act like they did not fuck him over. It's arguably the biggest fuck over in NBA history. What was he ranked? Number 122 paid player while he's arguably top 5 in the league?
Yeah, I think it was 130.
You, dude. Fuck you.
But no, that's on him, though. That's his fault.
He signed the contract.
If Jerry Reinsdorf is being truthful, and we'll take that with a grain of salt if you will. If Jerry Reinsdorf is being truthful and somebody don't sign this contract isn't good for you. And Jerry Reinsdorf said, if you sign this, don't come back to me to renegotiate. That's on Scottie Pippen. That's not on the Bulls. However big of an asshole Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf are, to me. Me and you are having a conversation, Kev, and Kev, you say, TJ, I'm gonna pay you $20 an episode. And I'm like, I'm only gonna take 10, Kev. I'm only gonna take 10. And you tell me, TJ, don't come back and renegotiate. And I sign that on a dotted line, and then I come back 4 or 5 years later, and I'm like, yo, I've made this podcast blow up. I need to get $20 an episode. What do you say, Kev? TJ, you signed the contract.
No. See, this is where it's wrong, because I respect relationships, right? I understand there is a difference between, trust me, I understand business versus relationship, and it's hard to mix the two. And I think the greatest of all time know how to do that. But I also know your value. And if I keep you happy, then you have a chance now. If I change that and I go, I'm going to pay you 20 an episode, you have a chance now to elevate even more to make it 40. You know what I mean? So I value relation. He clearly fucked him over, and he said, I'm going to keep fucking you because you signed a contract. He can always say, you signed a contract.
He signed it.
He signed it.
Nobody forced his pen. However,
Nobody.
At the same time, let's say he didn't sign that contract and he actually acted like he knew his worth and he grew a pair of balls and he didn't sign the contract.
They don't win as many.
Kev touched on this relationship. Just that initial offer was enough to really put a sour taste in his mouth. Like, okay, y'all coming with me with that bullshit from the beginning? Y'all don't really like fuck with me like that. Clearly, like, that was like a disrespectful. But he signed it. He signed it.
But I'll tell you this, TJ. When it comes to Scotty, the one thing you can't take away from him is even with that contract, he still played like a top 5 player, man. Like,
I love Scotty. I love Scotty. Those were my biggest surprises. And then him doubling down on the like it was like that's one of those moments where you should look back as a player and be like, yeah, I fucked up.
What that tells me, Teaser, that tells me that relationship is still so fucked. It's still sour, bro.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
yeah. The coup coach's relationship was sour when him and Mike went off on him in the Olympics.
Yeah, that was a great act. That
was phenomenal.
Yeah,
loving that. When Jordan was, me and Scotty got him. We'll take it. Nobody else got him. Me and Scotty got him.
But Trey, I could go on that all day, but I'm gonna let Cruz take it up. What's your biggest surprise of the doc so far?
I'll add a 2-part because TJ did the Scotty moment. I gotta say, just the salary alone, because I had no idea how little Scotty was making. Because I mean, if he would have been on any other team, Scottie Pippen would still be a household name. He is not a household name because of Michael Jordan. He was going to be great. But since he touched base on that, I'll put on the other side of it, the whole relationship between Jordan and Jerry Krause. I had that was all brand new information to me. Like all of that stuff, I was like totally blown away. I didn't know there was such you always saw the positive between him and Phil Jackson. And it was kind of like, okay, maybe the whole organization is just running like a dream. It really wasn't. There was a whole lot going on that I had no idea about. So that was a huge surprise for me.
And like as a kid that followed the Bulls religiously, wasn't into like the media and reading the Chicago papers, because obviously I'm not in Chicago. That wasn't really publicized like that. Like that was like, you knew they didn't get along, but depths that they went to and things like that, like that surprised me as well.
Yeah, and it was probably a lot easier to brush stuff like that under the rug back then, because social media and things like that, it wasn't the same. They probably covered up a whole lot. I think there's even some diehard fans in Chicago that they're getting new information out of this just because it wasn't.
Agree. You can't this team in this environment now. I don't know if they would have survived.
No, that leads me to mine. Can I say my biggest surprise?
Go for it.
My biggest surprise is definitely the salary for Scottie thing. I think we can universally say was like, and that even went for me. Like I'm a big Scottie fan. Like I think he was so underappreciated as a player. I did not realize going into it how he was underappreciated from a salary perspective. So I think, like I said, we're 93, like 93 babies. I did not realize that. So that added a whole nother level of like, yo, that was fucking wild. But my biggest surprise going into it was, yo, is there ever a scene off the court where Jordan don't have a cigar in his hand? I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like think about if that was a shit happening now.
Yeah. It's true.
Now, like if LeBron was running around with stogies every game and drinking Bud Lights after games.
Bro, first thing in the morning, they knock on his hotel. He opens the door. He's smoking a cigar.
There was one scene where he's in his locker after a game. He's smoking a cigar, and there's a cup in front of him with a cigar in it. I was like, this going back-to-back cigars?
Yeah. Crazy.
It's funny. His trainer was just on the Colin Cowherd show this week.
Tim Grover, shout out.
Tim Grover, great
legend.
Attack Athletics. They and he was talking about his cigar smoking. And Tim said he had to come up with like a schedule. Like, no, when it was okay to smoke a cigar, when it wasn't, the times two, the times not. Because, like, he's not going to change who he is. That's who he is.
No.
So there are certain times that he could. Tim had to come up with basically like a schedule of when it was okay and when it wasn't. So it's funny that was your surprise.
Oh, hold on. Just because we all touched base on, we kind of had the same surprise. I got to throw in there the off-court gym for the Space Jam film.
Let's take a moment.
Yeah. That was one of the dopest shits. Like, even Reggie Miller was like, yo, those were probably some of the – because we all saw it on the Dream Team documentary, like those pickup games, and obviously. But that was crazy. Really getting Jordan back into shape. And, yo, that was awesome.
That made me want to put my shoes on. I remember watching the episode, and I was about to go play ball. I was like, I don't know where the fuck I'm about to go play ball, but.
Yeah.
My thinking is, though, from a competitor's perspective.
Yeah.
Why would I want to, I want to play in that pickup game.
Yeah.
But now I'm given, Mike filmed that stuff. He was taking notes. Like, you don't give that man that information.
Yeah. That was a scouting
playbook. You're giving him the playbook.
Yeah. But TJ, you said it even before you went on that little, soliloquy. It's like, you want to play as a baller. You want to be a part of them games. Stop. Damn well 10 out of 10 times. You signed up
because you and I both know everybody was going at Mike. You ain't 100%, Mike. I'm coming for you, baby.
Yeah.
And it was Space Jam. That motherfucker, what was he do? He do like 10-hour shoots and then play ball for 6 hours and then do it again. I was like, and there was just 2 stogies within the day that he was doing.
And golf.
And golfing.
In that same interview, though, Tim Grover said that was when Mike was in the best shape of his life.
Incredible. Hey, you know what? Go ahead.
He said in that interview, Tim Grover said, usually Mike takes about, a couple of weeks to a month off after the season. So we called him after that game and was like, hey, Mike, when do you want to start? And he goes, tomorrow. 7 a.m. the next day, ready to work after that loss to Orlando.
Another level.
Wow. I loved it. It's funny, Jordan didn't want to release his doc because he thought people, would hate him a little bit more. That actually leads me to my next one, but I'll wait to get to that one. Jonathan, your biggest takeaway from this doc?
My biggest takeaway, I thought I knew the level of competitiveness of this man. We didn't even scratch the surface. Like seeing it, it's the little things. It's like on the court, sure. I'm talking about.
Jonathan, wait for it. Look.
Like,
remember when he does that in the doc? You're just like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Like, yo, one, this dude's fucking terrifying. 2, like I'm talking like just in the back when he's when they're throwing the quarters. Like you could see it in his face, like he's taking this seriously and he wants to win. Like he sits down a moment, like the game's over, and then he just stands up again. Oh, maybe we could do like one more. Like it's just engraved in him, and that's why when he took that step away, this is a whole nother episode. We might have to talk about that. I'm kind of conspiracy amongst why he stepped away from the game.
Cruz. Before you say that, we can after the 10 are over, we'll do another one for sure.
Yeah.
You go with that, TJ?
Yeah. Whatever. I'm good. I can go all night, baby.
Yeah, man. Like just seeing that level of competitiveness in him and how he brought it out in other people. And you really see how he treated so many different teammates like a different way. Like how he was with Scotty, how he was with I think it's Burnell, I believe is
Burrell, Scott Burrell.
Scott Burrell, how he treated him growing up. How he knew he needed a certain type of interaction in practice, and the Steve Kerr moment. This dude was we see it with LeBron, we see it with Kobe. Like getting that level out of Michael Jordan, man, it was incredible.
Incredible, right? It was. TJ, what's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is the mastermind of Phil Jackson. Deal with all the personalities through those 2 3-peats to manage his people management skills amazes me. Yet he knew that Dennis Rodman needed a vacation.
Yeah.
Then most coaches would make that decision on their own. But he had the wherewithal to call Michael Jordan in and talk to Michael Jordan about that. And be like, hey, Mike, Dennis needs a vacation. Like a couple days, let off some steam. Just so you're aware, this is what's going to go on. Managing the Scottie Pippen situation with not getting the surgery.
Yeah.
That in the beginning of the season. Like
incredible.
Dealing with Jerry Krause, knowing it was going to be – Jerry just told him, you're not going to have a job next year. Like managing that for a whole season and not getting bitter and not letting that seep – well, it kind of seeped into the team, but they used it as motivation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was finding little connections on how he could get through to somebody. Like I think when he was talking with Rodman, I think what they shared something about they love like some type of Native American culture.
Native American culture.
I was like, yeah. He wanted to reach him, and he did. And how many people could really say like they reached like having a connection with this guy?
Dennis Rodman,
and he did. Man,
yeah.
That is my big. That's what I wanted to see a lot of. We talked about that in an episode a couple of weeks back, and that was the thing. And I got it. And it's tenfold, and it just makes me understand how he was able to get through to Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, man, that's huge. You know, the Phil Jackson thing is actually really pretty awesome. So I'm obviously a Miami Heat fan. Everyone knows that. Anyone who watches this podcast, you know, I'm a Miami Heat lifer. Like this is what it is. And you know, I grew up with Pat Riley, and Pat Riley and Phil Jackson have a lot of the same pedigree, right? Like you put them both in a room, they're leaders amongst men. They know how to control characters, but completely different on how they did it, right? Phil led with peace and calm and serenity. While Pat Riley was like, you're going to work your ass off. We're going to fear. We're going to be the most, like, the hardest working fucking fuck you kind of team, right? Yeah. Both of them loved their players. And so what I loved about the Phil Jackson thing was, like, how he was able to finesse his way, how to make himself understand that he loved everyone. And he got the best out of everyone from that.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway, we talked about it, as TJ mentioned this in one of the previous episodes we did. We talked about what we were looking forward to the most. And I talked about how Michael Jordan was known to be like a huge shit talker and like an asshole of a teammate. My biggest takeaway is that I really don't think he was. I know it might be a little shocker, but TJ, from someone who's played ball we have, people get, like, we've all been in arguments and been in fights and been in, like, I've gotten in a fight. I'm pretty sure I punched Sharka in high school. Like, so for me, it was like, I think it was way overblown. So my biggest takeaway is, like, Jordan wasn't that big of an asshole. I don't know where this came. Maybe because I'm an athlete and I understand that, and the perception was bigger than the reality.
Yeah,
but I think that was my biggest takeaway.
I think that was the media. I don't think.
But he even got emotional. When talking about it. Remember, he was like, you know, if you're not on the same, you know, rope that I'm on or whatever, and he got kind of emotional.
If you don't play that way, that's fine. Don't play that way.
But TJ, I would have been so ride or die with that. Like, it's so my biggest takeaway is you got a bunch of players that were like, you got a bunch of soft ass people that were playing then.
Yeah,
I got to think it's more from non-athletes.
Okay.
Opinion.
Okay.
Also, you know what I mean? That's an opinion of people that are non-athletes who haven't grown up with a coach yelling at them all their life.
Yeah,
right.
Like, how many coaches are yelling, I've cussed us out, or, you know what I mean, called us a name, you know what I mean? Like I get on my son all the time, and I'm like, yo, man, let's fucking go. Pick it up.
And,
like, so those conversations in an athletic setting,
yeah,
you know what I mean, are normal. And for me, sometimes I got to take off my coach
yeah,
and put on my dad hat and separate the two, which is very difficult for me.
Yeah. So, what I don't understand by because I do agree. I think it's the non-athletes. I think it's the media. But, I mean, I just don't understand how they aren't making that connection. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. This is the Lifers podcast. This is not just a game for us. But if they just put it into their own life, if you love something this much, it don't got to be sports, and it's not done correctly and it's not respected, how are you going to react?
It's a great point.
His anger comes from his love of the game. Treat it right.
It was his life.
Everybody.
I want to put it on wax. I didn't punch Sharka. I gave him a nice elbow. I remember that. He was playing defense on I think it was a full court press, and I just gave him a good elbow to the face.
Yeah.
But so I want to make sure that's put on correctly, just in case he hears it.
All wax.
But I want to say thank you guys for talking about this. I don't know if any of you guys want to say any more points before we end it. So the floor is yours if you do. Jonathan, anything?
Yeah, man. I got a question.
Okay.
Do you guys believe Jordan himself left Isaiah Thomas off the Olympic squad?
Ooh.
Oh, I love this one. No. I do not.
He said no and just ended it. He said,
wait, no.
Go, TJ.
I think that a lot of people had a problem with that. Not just
that was my answer.
Do I think it was Jordan's fault? Yes. I don't think he had to make that phone call. I think they put that team together and like, Jordan don't fuck with Isaiah. We might just – and I think it was that simple.
There's a lot of people that didn't fuck with him.
Yeah. I don't think he had to go out of his way to make that phone call. I think they did it because of Jordan. I mean, again, I disagree. I mean, how could you leave Isaiah Thomas off of that squad?
Because he rubbed too many goddamn people the wrong way. It would have made.
I get it.
Bird didn't want him on. Look, I'm gonna name the 3 people that didn't want him on the team, and it ends the discussion. Magic, Larry, Michael.
Yeah.
Ron Gordon called him and asked him to play, and the first question Michael asked is, "Who's playing?"
Mm-hmm.
And Rod said, the reason why you're asking that question, that guy is not going to be on the team."
Yeah.
Conversation, because he knew that he would have a tough. Magic and Isaiah had beef after the whole AIDS issue, and that was big.
Yeah.
Larry didn't like him and didn't want to play with him. So those are the 3 at that point.
3-headed monsters.
People that was keeping the league going and brought the league back. They don't want him to play. He ain't there. Now, do I think it's a travesty that he wasn't on the team? Yes, he deserved to be on the team. And that's the ultimate Michael Jordan, as Kevin would say, stan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I think you said it perfectly. I think Isaiah had all the credentials, but he rubbed too many people the wrong way. I think multiple people didn't want him on, like you stated, and they just let Jordan be the fallback for that guy. And that's kind of the reputation that is built throughout the
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, with that being said, I mean, his way of rubbing people the wrong way was also the reason he also got championships, by being a bad boy. So, you take one with the other. It is what it is. I want to say thank you guys so much. It's exclusive content, like you said, for our Patreon. Go ahead and subscribe, be a part of it, man. It's going to keep on coming. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Peace.